Dr. Invocation, please, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Let's pray together. God of grace and God of glory, we gather in this space for the love of the town of Tryon, its natural beauty and imperfections, its art and architecture, literature, music, meandering lanes and trails that help us wander, and its people, horses, and hound dogs too. We gather in this space with these elected officials and staff, asking for your guidance and strength upon them. And we also pray for your grace upon us tonight, for we need it. We're tired too. Imagine these leaders and town staff are exhausted. For just as many of us are drawn here by the beauty of these mountains, the quiet movement of the springs, and the gentle rapids of the rivers, we were also struck with fear in the recent torrent of water and wind, and many of us are still processing and still healing and mending. So God of grace and God of glory, give these leaders joy in their service, strengthen their resolve, and peace in their worries. Grant them wisdom for the business before them and the work that needs to be accomplished in the days ahead. And may the unity we experience following the storm, when neighbor freely shared with neighbor, where strangers became friends over shared Wi-Fi on the sidewalk, may that spirit lead us to take responsibility for one another, that as we care for each other, we all might know peace and prosperity. By the presence of your kind spirit, renew our community in beauty and order, and happiness and peace, we pray.
Amen.
Madam Pro Tem.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. I need that. Either of you have any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda?
I don't.
Okay. The manager has given me an addition to item 9.
It's just amending it.
It's just amending it. I think y'all have got a copy of this. And it's an agreement with the county for moving and removing trash or debris from the storm. I hear a motion to adopt the agenda with the addition of this amendment.
With an addition of number 9, I make a motion.
Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Motion carries. Consent agenda. Any questions, comments, thoughts, explanations, or clarifications? And the consent agenda, ladies and gentlemen, generally is a list of minutes from other boards that have met and small things like tax reports and the things that we get every month and everybody has access to.
And her minutes are on there too.
Excuse me?
And this board's minutes are under there.
Oh, yes, yes, thank you. This board's minutes are here too before they got onto the internet. Chairman, entertain a motion to adopt.
I'll make a motion.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion carries. Jim, Tropical Storm Helena agenda, I'm just gonna turn this over to you for the next one.
Yeah, on the agenda this evening, there's 4 items I want to talk to the community about and the town board about dealing with Tropical Storm Helene. But I just wanted to go back a little bit, Mr. Mayor. I was here when we had Francis and Ivan, the storm factor back. And the town purchased generators back in 2002 that became operational. We put generators at the water treatment plant, sewer plant, Lakeland Air Pump Station, and Town Hall, Police and Fire Department. And those generators worked almost 9 days till power came on. But also too, on Thursday, September 26th, knowing the storm was coming, I made the decision to close Town Hall at 3 p.m. and all the employees at Town Hall at that, except for the emergency personnel, of course. And then also decided to close Town Hall on Friday And in retrospect, the storm came pretty hard. And I talked about the generators, but during the storm and afterwards, I guess the part I shared with the council earlier is that I'm very impressed with the town employees. They have to make decisions in the field. And I mentioned that the things went wrong that we didn't anticipate. The 2 landlines at town hall went dead. The radio dispatch to communications went dead. And so the fire department, police department, and public works decided to use walkie-talkies to communicate, which they worked. And then I got a purchase order the other day from our public works director, wanting to purchase additional ones to be prepared for any future storm. But during the first few days, the part that I was impressed with, we all were, is how the town employees came together, how neighbors helped neighbors, how our citizens became volunteers, came to City Hall, how the local churches stepped up and did yeoman work on providing food and supplies to our citizens in our county. You know, our local grocery store, Mr. Teaster years ago, he didn't have a generator. And after those 2 tropical storms, he purchased a generator 20 years ago, which proved invaluable to his store to provide groceries to our community. But our town employees, were out cutting trees along with water and sewer crews. But at this time, I'd like to call upon our public works director to give his perspective of what happened and what he had to do to deal with.
All right, I'm sure I'm gonna miss something. I'd like to first start off to thank everybody, all the people that work for Public Works, because everybody worked hard. And I'm gonna probably bring some people's names, and I don't want to guess anybody, but anyway, so Friday morning, of course, when this storm started, we were assessing roads and we were trying to cut some trees. Good. At one point, we did stop because we thought it was a little dangerous until about lunchtime. About lunchtime, we called in Gary Walker to come in and help. Also, about that time, I don't know if it was a little before that or whatever, that's when Chuck had got a hold of Anthony McAllister to let him know that we were losing 1,200 gallons a minute. That's a lot of water for us. So immediately Andrew was coming out there, he was looking for it. About 4 hours later, he decided that it had been busted up under the compactor river at 176, and they were him and Gary were able to shut that off. So during that time, we did lose a lot of water. We didn't lose all our water, but we were pretty low. And so, of course, at this time, we were already on generator power, and so the water plant ran for approximately 40 some hours straight to make up the water that we lost, and that was the big thing there. So, while all of this is going on too, we had Gary Walker, Andrew, street department stuff on Friday. Everybody was cutting trees, and Andrew, Gary, and his Luke, and Mason, sorry. They cut trees Friday, Saturday, Sunday, until sometime Sunday. I think most of the roads in Tryon was at least passable, or you had a way that you could get back around. During that time also, Saturday morning, after that generator at the lake had run so long, we were afraid we were going to run out of fuel. We were down on E at probably 2 o'clock or something like that. I was carrying like 50 gallons at a time over there, which was a drop in the bucket to that thing. So I called our local distributor. They couldn't help us. They didn't have the power to pump any fuel. So I called Brad, and I had him getting on the phone trying to find us some fuel. And we ended up getting some fuel from the Polk County bus garage. And we called Kenneth Airwood. He drove the truck. He built the truck. So I am nervous. But anyways, we're still widening roads. We're still cutting trees. We're still picking up roads. I'm sure.
Yeah. One thing I want to add to your report is, Brad's our Norman Field superintendent,
Right.
but he used to work at the water plant, so with Harmon Field and the mess it was in, there was no need to do any work there, so Brad went up to the water plant, I guess you made water to 5:30 in the morning. And I come into town hall, whatever, and he's like a zombie. But anyway, but cross-training is so important, that really was a big valuable resource as well.
Yeah, I was about to say, we utilized Harmon Field, they helped the next week, helped clean up and helped us get, the roads widened and stuff. So,
All right. Next, I'd call upon our fire chief, Josh Walton.
So like everyone, I'm gonna highlight a few events, but I also want to give some shout outs. So we're gonna throw his name out again. So not only does Brad know the water plant in Harmon Field, Brad also called me and said, hey, he used to be a fireman with us. He's like, hey, what can I do? So he came in and helped us out Friday during the day. So he came in and he was very instrumental in one of the topics that we faced. So a big shout out. The next shout out is to Public Works. So if you imagine this puzzle and our piece, usually we try to help Public Works cut the trees. When it comes to something like this, they help us, we help them. We went in straight rescue mode. We did not lift a saw for 2 or 3 days because we just couldn't get there. And them opening the roads like they did and doing all the tree cutting was phenomenal. Like, it helped us out more than what they realized. So shout out to them. And then Senate workshop, Stephen Simon started cooking meals. He's one of my members, but he stayed out of the field. He cooked meals for I don't know how many days straight. And then my last shout out is to Tim and his wife. She showed up, I don't even remember what day, but she set up a table, and we unfortunately had to move it out of the fire department because we had a lot of stuff going. But what she was doing, and Tim started helping her, is people that would come up and needing things, and she was cataloging it and starting to get that process going. And we were getting supplies. So what they did was very instrumental at the very beginning, kind of bringing stuff together. So we started Thursday, believe it or not. For us, Thursday it was raining. We cut 15 trees, and that was the last trees we cut. We spent the night. We started at 5:30 that morning with a tree down with power lines, and we kind of sat there, and it started getting really bad. So we got back to the station, and it hit. So immediately the valley was hit very, very hard. And we recognized that, but in addition, we had units at fire in Landrum, trying to get back, so I went there. But some of the topics throughout this day is at 7 o'clock, EMS was dispatched a medical call in Saluda, but off of 176. They called and said, hey, we can't make it, we have a tree down. They turned around, came back towards Tron and said, hey, we can't make it, we've got a tree down. So they ended up backing into right in the Twin Bridges. They backed in. They were watching water start coming over the Twin Bridges. So they bailed out of their ambulance and took off up the trail and hid under a rock shelter. So when it shook out, they were there for about 6 hours before we could get to them. So at that point, we recognized, hey, they need to get out. So Brad, with the New York Task Force, went up 26 and came down. He was their lead guy. And one of my volunteer part-timers, dedicated just to try Michael Purdy, started in from the bottom with the National Guard. So they were making a push, and as Brad and his team was working their way down, they got a report that there was a mudslide into a house with someone possibly trapped. So again, it was in Saluda's district, but Saluda was tied up on other things, so Brad let us know. Both teams pushed. Our guys rescued the paramedics, got them out. They came to the house. Unfortunately, as everyone has known, that was the one fatality in the storm. Was on 176 in Saluda, right across from the Twin Bridges. But these guys from Trine pushed their way in from top and bottom and was able to do their best. They did rescue 2 paramedics. got them to safety, and in addition, there's people walking and hiking and got caught. So I think about 7 people total we got to safety from the Twin Bridge area. The next highlight we had, you just gotta imagine it was insanely busy, and I'm not gonna talk all night, but a man came to the station and said, hey, I can't see this lady's house, can you go check on it? So we drove down to the valley, I pulled down the road, I knew this house, it wasn't where it was supposed to be. I was like, this is not good. So we had the task force still there. They waded through the water, started checking the house. A neighbor called and said, hey, check the camper trailer. So the house been swept away, the camper trailer and part of our house had swept 15 feet further. So they waded their way through, knocked on her door, and were able to, she'd been trapped for 6 hours in the water. They were able to rescue her and her 3 dogs and animals. So got her to safety. And then we had, off of Warrior Drive up at the top, we had a mudslide. We advised the lady to evacuate. She chose to stay. We did not have mandatory. The mountain came down. She was able to squirrel her way out of the wreckage and climb out. We were able to go get her and her dogs out. And then all this with checking trees, and our thought was try to help Public Works. We never really got there. But flooding and rescues and checking the valley and getting people out, we ended up with a fully involved structure fire in Saluda that we went to. So our Friday was just insanely busy. Since then, moving forward as things progressed and wound down, we've continued to work. So you may notice propane smells. So we've spent the last couple of days marking propane tanks that have washed away. Getting them marked so companies can come haul them off and get them properly back. We've worked with Mr. Fatland quite a bit, trying to get people down and helped him with some of this debris stuff, talking with people, trying to get the river back to its normal place. When this shook out, every bridge on the left side of 176 is gone. There is no bridge at Edney Road. There is no bridge at Caramai. The footbridge at Autumn Lane, which you could get a car, is now a footbridge. You can't get across it. So we're still dealing with some obstacles. They put a temporary bridge in for Edney Road, which is good. We're still working on Autumn Lane, figuring out how we can at least get some type of emergency vehicle over there. We have checked the houses behind Caramai. They're all empty. There's no one there. So we're good with that. So just a lot happening. If to put it in perspective, Tryon Fire Department on a good month averages 100 calls in a month. We were over 100 by Saturday. So, but again, everyone came together. Tryon Police really helped us with our welfare checks. They fielded a lot of them. Our dispatch was able to log a bunch. We set the bar. I will brag on the town. The county called in an outside INT team, which is a team that comes in and helps all the paperwork, and Tryon set the bar high with their 214s because dispatch was able to log a lot of stuff that we couldn't remember when we had to write it down, and they print them off. So when we turned our first set in, they were super impressed at what Tryon was doing. So kudos to the town, to the community coming together. I agree. I saw a lot of people, a lot of neighbors helping neighbors. It was a good sight. Unfortunately, that's reality. So.
This time, I'm going to call upon Tim to give an update. You were up in the Philadelphia area
Yeah, we
on Friday, and you came back. And
yeah, my wife
Tracy didn't realize what you're going to be doing.
Yeah,
next morning.
We drove back from a wedding in Philadelphia. We left Friday morning and just drove the whole way here. So we were essentially driving into the hurricane, but it was fizzling out by then. But just by the time we hit the North Carolina line to home, you could see it, we kind of saw the preview of what we were heading into, but we did make it home. And so the next morning on Saturday, her and I, my wife and I, showed up at the fire department, and Chief Walton asked if we could set up an information table in the fire department today. We were getting a bunch of public traffic there, so we decided to move it to the town council room, which worked out well because we could offer some verified information, kind of try to squash some rumors that were going around. We could offer public Wi-Fi, a place for people to charge their cell phones, and most importantly, I think, was a landline for the public to come in and touch base with family and friends, which many people used, and people were very happy to use that. Our Wi-Fi setup in the McCown room isn't really commercial grade, but we got through it. And we did eventually get a Starlink loan to us by the Polk County Community Foundation. I want to thank them for that. That's temporary. So we did also order our own for the future in case of tragedies like this, or we can, use it in general purpose as well. The council room was open from Saturday, September 28th to Friday, October 10th for our citizens to gather, donate, and receive supplies. We served approximately 250 people via our drive-through distribution after the hurricane. That number does not include the walk-ins and goods brought to Roseland and door-to-door, delivered by many of the town staff, administration, and local volunteers delivering goods as well. I'd just like to graciously thank a few individuals here and organizations who donated supplies, as well as our volunteers. They were very key in organizing and distribution, organizing and distributing them. I want to thank Pam McCarthy, Charlotte Behrens, Krissa Johnson Sotomayor, Lori Gettings, Marty Kirchhoff, Jen Grubbs, Roman Darity, Esther and Michaela Lale, Hannah Watkins, Kate Price, and last but not least, my spouse, Tracy Daniels, and my two kids, Liam and Marin. They were all just key to this whole operation. And I also want to give props to the Tryon Diner and Huckleberries and other businesses that assisted the public via, whether it be food or Wi-Fi, or I know Alan Cassavant was handing out burgers and hot dogs at the Fitzgerald. Again, it was just a whole, many people coming together in the community, and it really, to echo the sentiment, it's just really hit you in the heartstrings living here sometimes, and this was one of those opportunities.
I guess, okay.
While you're calling names, who was the person that was offering hot showers?
That was, I'm not sure who coordinated that one.
It was through Church Street.
Oh, it was through the diner?
Through the
Okay.
diner.
I just didn't want that to get lost.
Sure,
Because
yeah.
that was very special.
Yeah, they provided Wi-Fi and showers as well. And the town had more than one option for assistance, and that was just great to see.
You have a town hall, council room, the back conference room, Tim's office, part of my office, the hallways looked like an IGA food annex. And the part that impressed me is when you have volunteers like you put together, you mentioned, they knew where everything was at. It looked like organized chaos, but if somebody came in wanting diapers or some kind of supplies, they knew exactly where it was at to find. But it was really heartwarming to see how the community came together. So when I came in Monday morning, this operation was already underway for 2 days, and it got bigger and bigger as more and more deliveries came from various folks out of Charlotte. So,
Yeah, we did have like a menu at the one stop, and you'd fill out a form of what you need, hand it to them, they drive around, and like Jim said, somebody grabbed that and just filled the order, and it was literally a drive-through.
then I get a text message from the pastor back here, Alan Virgil. He sent a text message with a Chinook helicopter pushing out food and supplies out the back door of this helicopter. He said, "You know anything about this?" So I sent it to the police chief. He didn't know, the fire department didn't know, National Guard didn't know, but it just delivered more and more of the water and the military rations. But and also too, I want to thank our public works crews. The town of Columbus struggled with the storm as well, and they needed help with the generators over there to keep their water supply going, and our crews went over and helped them out. So it's nice to see the communities come together as well.
Yes. I've got to add one thing, folks. All this stuff worked because we had working generators. When he came here the first time, those generators were sitting there but they weren't working. So because of what this man did the first time he was here back in the early 2000s, we had those generators that were working. So thank you.
I guess one thing for us, we retained a maintenance contract, take care of all the generators. And the town has kept that same company all these years, so the generators, even though they're over 20 years old now, they're well maintained and ready to go. And then also too, I failed to mention too, that all the generators are filled in advance of the storm. The entire fleet had gassed their trucks up in vehicles in advance of the storm. We didn't realize we'd be going this many days. And then even, I guess, the Pickens Police Department brought fuel to help our crews out as well. But,
Yes. Okay, on Wednesday, I went and I asked every one of those people you see there, Greg, what have you done? Chief, what have you done? What have you done? What have you done? Every one of them told me this, and I'm a retired lieutenant colonel. I love to hear this. Vehicles are topped off. We've got people standing by if we needed to, the chainsaws and stuff, the gas stuff. So when it hit folks, those people were ready. You got me right here. Because if you have to go find that stuff after it hits, it's too late. So my hat's off to you again, gentlemen. It's unreal. Go ahead.
So I guess we move on to the next item then.
Item 7.
Item 7 is a resolution accepting donations for Harmon Field restoration from storm damage. Right after the storm hit, Meg Rogers, who's the secretary for the Harmon Field Horses, she goes, Mr. Vaz, we want to cancel the Harmon Field meeting on Tuesday, October 1st, since we don't have a place for them to meet, because the council room was like a grocery store. So I said, no, I want the Harmon Field Board to meet. So the Harmon Field Board met at my office on Tuesday, October 1st, and I showed them pictures of the detail of the damage of Harmon Field. And it actually was a good meeting because we made a few decisions. One was they wanted the cleanup to move as quickly as possible. And I'm pleased to report that ServPro, we contacted them and they're already out of Harmon Field cleaning up the 2 bathroom cabin, getting those back into order. But the Harmon Field Board also passed a motion that they realized that these facilities have been impacted. So we agreed to return the rents of people that reserved the cabin and the screened-in porch. And basically, between October 1st and March 1st, those facilities would be closed. But they also want to have a partial reopening. And I shared that with Brad. Brad didn't make the Harmon Field meeting, but I could see all the hours he put in. But they wanted to open the dog park, one of the ball fields, the tennis courts, pickleball courts, the basketball gym area, and the walking track. And so we opened up Harmon Field yesterday, didn't we? Thank you. And since our restrooms aren't officially cleaned up yet, we brought in 4 porta-johns, 2 for the west entrance, 2 for the east entrance. So the park will be open. So again, on that Harmon Field Board did meet, so they make some decisions on that. But at this time, I asked Brad and Tim to put together some pictures to show the community and the board the impact of this storm on Harmon Field. Yes, Brad, you want to?
Yeah,
This
you
is
want
the.
to narrate?
Yeah, so,
You wanna narrate?
as Chief Long said, I was actually helping him on Friday, and we actually got able to get off a call, and I said, can we ride by Harmon Field? I really just want to see, it always floods. And this is what I showed up to at 9:30 something in the morning. At 8 o'clock in the morning, I was able to go by. You could see the flooding starting to happen. You could still see the parking lots. You could still see the asphalt and the soccer fields, and this was an hour and a half later. So the logs you see in the back on that one picture, that is the boardwalk behind the screen shed. It actually washed it that far. The addition here in the gym, we were building the kitchen and storage area. The water went through. Some of these places, I had to limit the pictures. I've got over 600 pictures of the park on my phone. So we narrowed it down to 10. And some of the places in the park, the water level was actually over 4 feet. So you can see how high it is. That's the sidewalk at the old school looking over the disc golf course, the field. It did wash a lot of the sidewalks and stuff away and walking tracks, flooded the soccer fields. The water was actually so strong, it actually took down the fencing at the soccer fields. And it's just a post standing now. It looks kind of like a boneyard. This used to be a little creek and a little footbridge. It actually filled that up with sand and silt. And so you can actually walk across it now. There's Kenneth. You can see what we're having to work in. This is before Surf Pro. We're trying to get pictures for insurance and, you know, for our own sake as well, and just see how high the water level is. That's part of the playground. As you notice, the screen shed's gone. The boardwalk behind it, it actually lifted part of it up, and part of it is removed. The fencing at the playground, it just knocked it over like it wasn't even in the ground. I mean, it's amazing the force of the water in those areas.
So on the water real fast, they sent out a clip. So the weather people say that major flooding is 14.6. We spiked, the Packlet spiked at 18.1 through this storm.
Is that from the gauge down at the mill?
That's from someone who came and came through the EOC. I was not 100% sure where it came from.
No. I'm just curious if that gauge actually, you know, the one on the Packlet River Bridge on 108, if that was, you know, sent off an alert early on. I thought that's why they put them in.
So this is inside the cabin. We usually eat lunch in there. That's our little table. That's how we left it on Thursday, Friday before, you know, everything happened. The water level got up to about 3 foot inside the cabin. So Surf Pro had to go in and remove chinking and boards and sheetrock, and they've done an amazing job. We didn't lose as much as we thought. It's going to take a little construction to get back. But it's not as bad as these pictures seem sometimes. But so this is the back side where the deck used to be on the cabin. Tree fell and the propane tank was knocked over and leaking. I think one of the board members and the gentleman that runs Borough Fuel actually cut the propane off, if I'm not mistaken. And it actually knocked the air conditioner unit over to almost the middle of the cabin where the deck was. And again, you can see where you can walk across that ditch area and the height of the sand that it brought in. This is on barn 4 or D for some people. At the end, the water just ripped through. It was able to go through some of the boards because of the slats, but it's still, I mean, look at the silt on the inside, how it piled up. This ring got the worst. It actually washed the entire footing out of the ring, and it took down a lot of the fencing as well. This is the Delara baseball field. It pretty much washed it away. There's a lot of trenching and pipe exposure, irrigation exposure. This is the picture I got from my wife actually on Friday afternoon, and the screen shed is gone. You can see the fencing, the boardwalk, the cabin. It actually doesn't do it justice
And the
as bad
gazebo,
as it is.
the gazebo just turned upside
The
down.
gazebo is turned upside down as well. The water just knocked it off.
I think that's it.
I think that's it. But real quick, if I could, like everybody else, I've got a lot of people to thank. Josh will let us borrow the fire trucks. Scott and his crew for running people out, trespassing and trying to go behind barriers and, you know, some pillaging, some just being curious. Greg and his guys from Public Works, they let us borrow backhoes and pick up trash and dump trucks and whatever else, so that we've all kind of come together and worked together. We closed the park on September the 27th, Friday morning. Greg and his crew actually went out there and put up cones and road close signs. We partially opened the park yesterday, October the 14th. So in a week and a half, we opened that park partially. Oh, man, the guys, whew. The guys really worked. They done everything they could for the people of this town to get that park open, the roads open, the water flowing. I just don't think a lot of people understand how lucky they really are. We do have the areas of the park that are open is the dog parks, baseball field B when you first pull in, the walking track, and the tennis courts. You can park on either entrance. The open air gym will actually be open later. Serve pros in there cleaning that little kitchen area and stuff. So just if you see the guys, give them a thanks. You know, just try to stay away from the barriers. Let us do our jobs. I appreciate it.
And then, Brad, you weren't kidding about the police department keeping people out. I wanted to go over there Tuesday before the Harmon Field meeting on October 1st. So I drove my Subaru in all the way to the cabin so I get some pictures inside. And here comes the fine police department. Who are you? Anyway, but also too, I've been in contact with our insurance company, and the way it works, our insurance company has to come out and look at the facility. They're going to be out Saturday afternoon to do a complete walkthrough of Harmon Field with Brad and I. And then once that's done, we'll find out what we'll get reimbursed from insurance. Then we go to FEMA next. And so I've got a big notebook for Harmon Field. I didn't plan on 600 pictures from him. He's got a lot of pictures, but he always said take plenty of pictures, measure how high the water's up, and the more pictures you have, it'll strengthen our claim to our insurance company as well as FEMA. So, but our town clerk shared with me last week that some individuals in town have come by and dropped off checks totaling, I guess, $3,300 to use in any way possible to help out the town of Tryon. And none of the church is doing a lot of things in their Drumbelt ministries. But I talked to the mayor that we really, we don't want to take on multiple projects. So I talked over with staff that we felt that maybe Harmon Field, if you saw the pictures of the impact of that park, I don't think insurance and FEMA are going to come clearly enough to cover getting the park back in the grandeur that we enjoyed the last year or so. So we have before you, Mr. Mayor, a resolution as one idea from staff, a way the community could help a particular asset out. And we have other ideas too, but we thought this would be a way to start.
Chairman, entertain a motion to adopt the resolution to accept donations to repair Harmon Field. Motion, all in favor, aye. All opposed, likewise, motion carries.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is in speaking to our auditor and local government commission. When FEMA comes in, they want to see good documentation of separating impacts of the damage. So with support from our auditors, they recommended that we adopt two project ordinances to account for all the expenses from the storm. One is going to be the general fund, and that'll include the general fund, street department, sanitation, Harmon Field, and the fire department. The second ordinance will deal with water, sewer, primarily, the damage we had there. So basically, we're asking the council to, for the general fund, just transfer $100,000 of fund balance to this project ordinance. And then our hope is to get money back from insurance, FEMA, and donations. And depending how much money we have to use out of the 100,000. But we're asking the general fund to be the banker to get Servpro out and get them out here as soon as possible. The second one is asking for a transfer of the water and sewer fund balance of $60,000 to deal with, we had damage to, as Greg mentioned, the water line by the Packet River got washed out, they had to reroute that. The raw water line had damage. And then there was a area over New Market Street, I believe, which got washed out as well. But we are going to create additional notebooks to put all these costs into these two projects. And I'll go through them in detail to make sure documentation is sufficient. You just can't show, we had 26 hours of equipment. You need to show the dates and the hours you worked. I talked a little with Greg, and so for example, if you used a backhoe from 7:30 to 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. to 3:30 p.m., that's documented. And the better job you document, the better chance you'll get reimbursed from FEMA. And then, so we have these two project ordinances before you have any questions.
Any questions?
Any questions?
No, but I'd like to say that things like pictures and so on and so forth are usually timestamped unless you take it off of your phone, so you can't bother with that, that's there. As far as some of the other documentation, I've already heard Ms. McCool do a countdown and so on and so forth. So everyone has done that, police department and things documented, even though the phones are down. I think we're gonna be pretty good in that area.
And the firemen, all the overtime that they had, plus all the part-time help they brought in. On town forces, they only reimburse for overtime. If you're working, cutting trees out between 7:30 a.m. and 4, that's a normal function of government. But as Greg mentioned, the crews were out all weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And then one thing too, which when you get later on as a debris item, that's the next item on the agenda, is yes, the state will come in and take away the debris for free, but it may sit out there for months. And so I want to, your town crews and the water crews have removed a lot of the debris from the city streets. We won't get reimbursed for that, that's the overtime portion, but I think the key thing is getting our community back into what it was before the storm is important for our community, our downtown, so people will feel free to come back and visit Tryon and so forth. So, but I'll talk more in detail in the next item about that.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to adopt to project two budget ordinances for storm damages, one for 100,000 for basically from the fund balance,
Fund balance.
and the other one for 60,000 from
Water
water and
sewer.
sewer fund balance.
I make a motion that we.
All in favor, aye? Opposed likewise, motion carries.
Okay, the next item is, the, three towns in the county have been meeting every day since the storm started on Monday, following the storm on Friday. We meet every day at 1 o'clock, the town managers from Columbus, Tryon, and Saluda, and the county manager, along with, emergency personnel and, FEMA. And then the fire chief and police, they've been attending morning meetings at 10 a.m., I believe, at the emergency center each and every day. And one of the things that the county manager shared with the managers was the NCDOT is going to pick up all the debris in all these affected counties on public streets private streets, as long as it's not a gated community, for no charge. But he invites to come into each town, and I'm asking the council to support this. We may have our streets cleared, but there's several roads in the township with probably an address. And I hate to have DOT think they don't have to come in if we said no. Also, one of the things that I asked our fire chief to follow up last Friday with the county was to put pressure on the Army Corps. And so the fire chief called Army Corps, and I think the county manager is doing the same. So we had to amend the letter that's come before you as the Army Corps came out, and I went out with the Defiant Fire Department yesterday and saw the damage in the Packlet Valley. And it's really, really bad. There's so much debris in that river that if we get a lot of rain, it's gonna be like a huge beaver dam type thing. So the Army Corps was out there. The Army Corps is gonna take the lead and hire outside contractors to remove all the debris. And so I amended the letter to the county manager, including not only the contracts with DOT, but also Army Corps, allow them to come into our town limits and our township to clear the debris out. So that's the item before you, the last item. Do you have any questions?
Chair will entertain a motion to adopt.
Make a motion.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise, motion carries.
So that's all the items on the tropical storm. Do you have any other questions or comments before we move on next time?
Item 10, fire department exchange with Green Creek.
Oh, on the fire chief. This is on the last meeting and you had to advertise after tonight.
So with all this, we're not sure when the change will actually happen, but we'd still like to move forward. Especially now, because the trade is going to get us a smaller truck, which when you look at the valley now in our district, is gonna actually be very beneficial to us with those bridges and trying to get access the best we can. So we would still like to move forward with it, your blessing.
Motion to accept chief's presentation for a equipment exchange with Green Creek Fire Department.
I make a motion.
All in favor, aye. Opposed, likewise, motion carries. Item 11, Jim, rehab.
Okay. This is a very big sewer rehab project. As you know, we've got, it's a $3.2 million project. 2.6 million is 100% grants. And we're $600,000, when we opened out the bid, they came in much higher. And the consulting engineer recommended, let's cut the project back by $600,000. And I suggested, no, I wasn't too keen on that. So I contacted Diener staff and got green light to advance additional loan approval of $612,000 at an interest rate of 0.18% for 20 years. And we took it to the LGC, which approves all loan financing from the state of North Carolina. And they approved the $612,000 loan. So what we have before you tonight is, even though they offered the money to us, you have to accept the loan now. And so one is a resolution accepting the loan offer. And the second part is to amend the project ordinance to take it up to $1,612,000, which $1 million is principal forgiveness. With any questions about this?
Chair will entertain a motion to adopt.
I make a motion.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise, motion carries.
Also, I met with the contractor at Braywick, as well as our Withers Gravel, our engineer, this morning. We have monthly meetings, and I asked the contractor, because of the storm, do you need additional time? And he said, no, I think we can make up the week lost, but they were helping getting some of the tree removal done too, but the completion date as scheduled right now is January 19th of 2025 for this project. And they wanted to thank many of the residents of Gillette Woods being very cooperative on helping them grant easements to their property, get things done. But Thank you very much for your approval on that.
Item 12.
This is our first budget amendment for the year. It's all go through the key items for it. Last meeting, you approved doing a pedestrian deck at the corner of Packlet and Depot Street, just right behind us. And the cost was like $67,000, so I'm recommending we fund that from investment earnings. As I shared with you at budget time, that in prior years, you're getting only like $5,000. We moved much of our fund balance into the state investment pool, which is paying over 5% rate of return. So we're going to go from 5,000, about 140,000 a year in investment earnings. So I thought we'd take the investment earnings and pay cash for this particular project. Also, we're showing the $100,000 that you just recently approved in the budget ordinance from the general fund balance to pay for lien storm damage. And then the tourism fund has a small request. They want to appropriate $1,500 of their fund balance for event marketing. And then Harmon Field, the open air gym project was running behind schedule. And I guess I'm pleased they were running behind schedule because all the new appliances for the catering kitchen down there, they were in the dryer. And so, and after looking at the facility, I think the project should go forward. I know Will from Arts and Crafts mentioned to me, he said, Jim, I apologize. I left that metal door open. The water just rolled in and pushed out. But those walls by the basketball gym are designed to push out when the water came in, which that's what it did. So I'm going to recommend appropriating $25,000 of Harmon Field fund balance. The Polk County Foundation gave us a $25,000 grant. We haven't asked any of that money to come in yet. And then we got a grant from Duke Energy for $1,150 to purchase a bench. And that bench was in the storage shed, it didn't get washed away, so that's good. And then the water and sewer fund for $60,000, like we talked earlier, for fund balance to help out with storm damage. And then the sewer collection crew wanted to purchase new camera equipment, and it's badly needed. And we did hire 2 new employees, Luke Arledge and Mason Merrick, who worked out really well with Andrew. And so I think this is valuable equipment for them to purchase at this point. So that's the budget amendment before you this evening, budget number 1.
Can we talk about the deck? Is that like poured concrete walls and, I mean, $60,000 for that little deck on the corner? What's it made?
Well, it's track decking. Well, I brought it to the council last meeting.
Yeah.
We had 3 bids. They ranged from $60,210 up to $145,000. And 2 were very high, and the Carlson farmer, the low bid, he basically said this is what I think. In other words, a lot of contractors bid high prices because they're busy.
Yeah.
But it amazed me because I think Greg commented, because he's pretty handy on doing things. He goes, he's amazed that things cost so much. But also too, you have to go through building approval with the county. John Walters did the design to make sure the footings and all this stuff passed. It will be holding, pedestrians on it, open to the public. But that's the price of today's market. And the last meeting, you guys approved the contract award and authorized me to come back with a budget amendment. That's what I'm doing now.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I remember that, but then I walked up there and I looked, it's a little bitty truck. Anyway.
But I guess one thing too.
Yes,
I'm
wondering what stuff costs.
The town board, I guess, we look at Trade Street and you kind of want to get Packlet Street brought into the downtown.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, I agree with that. I just built a whole house 4 years ago for $80,000, and I just did a lot of it, but now I pay like plumbers, like sheet rock. So anyway,
but I guess the investment earnings we've been able to get last year and again this year, it's going to be paying for it. Now, it won't be a
Yeah.
Not tax money, like that necessarily paying for
And
it,
it's E-Pay?
what's that?
What kind of wood are they using?
Track material.
Okay, plastic.
What's that?
Which tracks? Is it wood or plastic?
It's plastic. I have it on my back deck if you want to see it.
Okay. No, I've seen it before.
It gets very hot in summer.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, just Cheryl approved for 24-25. Budget amendment number 1.
My only issue, remember, was it gonna be safe, remember? That was my issue. If we can't do any better with the pay, we've already done it, you've done the amendment, I forgot, anyway, I say yes.
Okay, it's a motion, all in favor, aye? Opposed likewise, motion carries. 13,
Well, that's appointing Susan Bell to the ABC board.
No, this is for reappointment of Jeffrey Close. He's on the ABC board and he wants to be reappointed.
who's that?
Jeffrey Close,
Okay,
ABC
I'll
board.
hear that name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I'm good with it. I'll make a motion.
okay, all in favor, aye?
Uh,
Opposed likewise, motion carries. Next, TDDA, Tim.
I'll roll through these quick. Approximately 150 people attended the barbecue beatdown and we raised $740. Congratulations to Steve Nealon on his big win. I hear he wore that belt around for days. Surprised it's not on him right now. Our TDDA annual meeting will be at the Fitzgerald on Monday, October 21st from 6 to 8. There will be a panel discussing economic development in Tryon with Dr. Warren Carson, Alan Cassavant, Julia Calhoun, Mike Harriman, and Sherry Adams, hosted by Kevin Parker. It'll be a nice little event. Please come at 5:30 for the ribbon cutting for the Fitzgerald. Fourth Friday, the 25th, the band we originally had scheduled had to cancel. So we are going to have karaoke on the plaza from 5 to 7 or 8 or beyond. We're going to charge $5 a song if you want to sing, and all proceeds will go to Harmon Field Restoration. The Halloween decorations are up thanks to the sanitation crew for helping them get put up on the clock tower and by Morris. The Halloween stroll is on October 31st from 5 to 7. Kiwanis is hosting the costume contest at 6:30 at the clock tower. I do need to, I'll get to that in a second. Beer Fest, we are still planning on moving forward with Beer Fest. Obviously some breweries got hit in the area, so we had a meeting tonight. We are going to get some information this week and make a full-on decision regarding that. So we'll have, well, I guess it'll be after we meet next time. But anyway, please check the social medias for the Tryon Beer Fest to stay tuned, I guess. And then back to Halloween, I need to ask for a road closure on Halloween, the 31st from 4:30 to 7:30. And that's it.
Chair will entertain a motion to close the road 4:30 to 7:30 Halloween. All in favor, aye? All likewise.
Okay.
That it?
That's it?
I have a question for Tim.
Yes.
The event at the Fitzgerald, isn't it something about $50 if you're not a member?
It's 20, I think it's $20 if you're a non-member of TDDA.
Okay, yeah, that,
I think.
I'll have to get with Lourdes on that one and get back to you.
In my head, I got 50 in my head, but anyway.
Okay. Item 15, minimum housing, Tim.
Okay, so due to the storm, some things did get a little moved around. Shepherd Street, the new roof is on. I talked to Stephen, who's doing renovations. New roof is on, and the electrical and plumbing is going in within the next week or so. The Peak Street test burn or educational burn obviously got postponed. I talked to Chief Walton. If Asheville is unable to reschedule and get the multiple fire departments down to do the event, Tryon we'll just handle it and get it done so it doesn't, we don't get it postponed for a couple months while we coordinate that stuff. So it's moving forward.
So I did talk with Asheville, they're looking at trying first November-ish to come down, so right now, we're gonna try to move forward, it's gonna be pushed, it's been pushed back a couple of weeks, but.
That's it.
Okay, 16, town manager report.
Just a couple items. One is, due to tropical storm Helene, the, South Carolina, application we made for a grant for Lake Lanier Dam rehab. The extended deadline to November 11th, and everything's progressing on schedule. We'll turn the grant in probably ahead of time, but they did give us some additional time for that. Also to the tourism board a while back approved a parking study to be done for downtown. And I guess, Tim, just a brief update on the parking study. You've got the Foothills Regional Commission going to do that at a cost, I think, $5,000.
Yeah, it's $5,000 and they should be starting it in November. So we should have some data pretty soon here.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. Council Mayor, Bill Sherrill, did me.
All right, well, I just can't thank the staff. I mean, I've pretty much individually gone around and thank you all. Great job. Shitty situation, but great job. Thanks. I still have my concerns about when traffic lights are out, that people think that means go faster. I really think we need to go ahead and buy some stop signs, put them on truck rims. And when this situation happens, you put it on every single traffic light on 176. You make them stop because, well, Mill Springs almost lost a person because two people decided they weren't going to stop and they crashed into each other. And I think one of them, the lady was there, left it. It was bad enough.
And that's right.
But it was getting so crowded up at the corner of Morris and people just flowing through that red light just constant. I really want to thank Gary Walker for coming out and fixing those water lines. I mean, it could have been critical to the town if we lost fire hydrant ability. So all the water and sewer guys, thank you. Fire, street, dispatch, thanks.
Okay.
That's it.
Sherrill.
Yeah, I made some notes on only if I could read them. We can't say thank you enough. We can't call everybody's names. And that's from the people that came down from Tennessee, Mississippi, and other places, Asheville. Everybody that was in this pickle can't help us, but yeah, we thank everybody that works for the town. Come up one day, and Susan was in the office. Oh, okay, it's Susan, yeah. I like the idea of bringing back prayer to the council. It's been about 7.5 years, I think, since we actually had someone sitting or someone invited to do prayer. So I like that idea of that coming back. Again, I know that you all didn't get enough relief at the time, or maybe enough sleep, but I thank God. I think we can say that tonight. I always say it in my head anyway. I thank God that He did send some relief for us, and you guys were able to work more efficiently. And without you, even if the people had come in from national or some people international, we had people here from Canada. I got friends in Canada. I checked with them. Everybody was looking out for us, and it seemed as if North Carolina in particular were not mentioned in some places like New York and Cleveland and places where I have family. They thought we were all right. So I think that we all helped to alleviate that situation, and then they had people to come and do different things to try to help us out. So, and I do not want to forget Roseland. Sometimes Roseland gets lost in the loop, but everybody over there was helping. Everybody in the Roseland community was helping. People from the town itself, like I say, sending help to Roseland. And again, Stephen, you guys are talking, I talk to Stephen quite often. He made trips to Roseland in between cooking. And he was offering everybody something to eat. I really didn't want to take anything about it, but I was in the office one day to pay my bill, and he come out with some pizza. Everybody had eaten, and I was like, okay, no, but I'm telling you, that was the best pizza. I know it was kind of like pop or something, but when you're hungry, it tastes pretty good, you know. Because we, most of us, I know you had a generator, most of us too were in the same predicament. Like, for me, it was so dark, I didn't know if I was living, sitting, lying down or what, but, I was in the same predicament as most people in China, so I kind of relate to that. And again, it's just a huge state, thank you for the employees that work in this tiny little town that needed a lot of help. And I know we're gonna need some help going forward. And I'd like to say this, do you all know that Cliff Marr was interviewed by the Wall Street Journal?
Yes.
Yeah, so I just like to say this, in 2021, I was part of a national conversation. And that conversation was about our water sewer issues in Lake Lanier. And during the process, someone on the other side that was paying attention to that conversation called me. And being a realtor, most time I just answer the phone. And it was a lady named Julie from the Wall Street Journal. And she was going to do a report on our issues then. But it all started because of the ARPA money. And there's a little booklet where our little story is first. And it was part of the ARPA with the Biden-Harris administration and Congress. So if you ever want to see that, it's pretty much online. But our story is first. But for them to come back after they didn't get that story the first time, and to do this nice story with Polk County, not just trying, and with Cliff, of all people, y'all know Cliff is like the nicest person. So if you hadn't seen that, look that up. You can just go to Wall Street Journal and type in his name, and the story will come up. If you just type in his name, that story will come up. Let me see if there's anything else. And other than another huge thank you, I think that I've said enough.
Thank you. I'm going to add to the thank yous, folks. I went down to town hall, and from the 27th of September until the 10th of October, I worked 129 hours. I kept up with it. I saw people in this town, outside our town, and in other places open their hearts that I haven't seen in a long time. There were a couple of times it kind of rained in my glasses a little because people were helping. And then there are times that people that got some help would come by and say, thank you so very much, and they want to know what they can do for somebody else. That's the America that I love, and I love it a lot. That being said, citizen comments, please identify yourself if you'd like to speak with your name for the record.
And I want to add my thanks to your staff. They were incredible. I'm one of the lucky ones. I had a generator. I didn't have any damage to any property or anything. But our neighborhood, Bill knows it from being there years ago, came together like we used to. We had block parties. We ran drop cords from generators to houses that didn't have power to suck water out of the sump pump, run dehumidifiers, help people sleep on CPAPs. It was an amazing for us neighborhood. And then to come downtown and see what all of you did was just phenomenal. So thank you.
Joyce?
George Kempton, and Ann provided ice for my granddaughter's insulin. Otherwise, we would have been in a lot of trouble because that insulin has to stay cold. And for the people who did not grow up here, if you look back at the history of Tryon, you'll find out that this town has been built on volunteerism. Whatever was needed, the people in this town have always stepped up and taken care of it. So thanks to everybody who took their turn and stepped up during this disaster.
Yes, sir.
Nick Fisher. My compliments go to the mayor. I was sitting in town hall early on when it opened up for Wi-Fi service, making phone calls, talking to a friend of mine, Skip Crow. And this gentleman, our mayor, walked in the room and pointed his finger at me and Skip and said, "Get up and grab the water and load my truck." Without question, we did it. So that's who our mayor is. Very good, thank you.
Because somebody needed it.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And that's why
We didn't hesitate.
Thank
Age and all, we still did.
I have one more thing, I'm sorry. For those of you who live in Tryon, who vote in Tryon, who vote on election day at Harmon Field, obviously, that's not a possibility this year. Dr. Pertel and the Tryon Presbyterian Church have kindly opened their doors, and that will be the polling place if you live in Tryon on election day.
you.
Let's see, is this our last scheduled meeting for?
Before the next meeting is in November. Election.
That's correct.
Yep.
Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I had the first corrected on it now. I'm glad, there was something else that was going on tonight, and I thought, well, I'll pray and I'll leave. But then I was like, no, I want to hear what's going on. I'm so glad I did. And I hope in the weeks, months, and years, the year to come, that we will find appropriate ways to thank you all as the town staff and you all who are here tonight for everything you did. Taking for granted each time that cost of the water comes out. A little joke at the church that morning, we were making coffee for people with the generator. It's like, well, they said boil advisory, but the coffee pot's probably hot enough. We'll be fine. But thank you for that, and just for everything you did. Really appreciate it.
Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, likewise, motion carries. We're adjourned. Come on, come on.